All right, everybody. Welcome back to another Friday show. It's been a while for me, so I'm excited to be back, and I'm obviously joined by the dream team here. We got Darren and Michael. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Sure, I'll start. Hi, everyone. I'm Michael. Most of you who've been on the show, you know me. I'm technical
All
marketing
right, everybody.
manager,
Oh, hold
and I
on.
spent
Back to
a, oh,
sorry, I had an
no
echo.
problem.
I had an echo. That's my bad. Okay, please proceed.
All right, let's try that one again. Hey, everyone. I'm Michael, technical marketing manager here at NETGEAR, and I have a lot of background in our products. I've done a lot of beta testing. I did support for a while, and I do a lot of trade shows. So know a lot about the products that we have, and happy to answer any questions you have. And over to Darren.
I'm Darren. I'm a technical support specialist and community moderator at NETGEAR. I handle home networking products in our community, answering support questions, and also some in our social media. And we're here to answer any questions you have about NETGEAR products today.
Cool. And I'm Alec. I'm a senior creative design specialist. I mostly do web design, and now I do 3D rendering, which is super fun. So, yeah, the format of the show for anybody who's new is just ask any questions about NETGEAR products, or if you would like any suggestions for what, you're thinking about buying, your home, your van, let us know. We're here to help however we can. So don't be shy, ask as many questions as you want.
Yep.
We do have a couple regulars coming back into the chat that I recognize, even though it's been a while. I see Husky Gamer, Kieran, Hamad. Welcome back to you three, and to Tammy, who's also in the chat. Welcome. Happy to have you here. If you have any questions about the products, let us know. We have a message here from Kieran, who says, I have to say thanks to the NETGEAR firmware guys for fixing the WAX 218 relating to the random reboots when connecting to certain clients. You may remember I was having some issues with that in the past. Um, that's awesome. I'm glad it's fixed for you.
Yeah.
They are, every single product team and software team is always trying to fix these little bugs because home networking and business networking is complex. So it happens, but I'm glad it worked out for you. Husky Gamer says they saw a lot of NETGEAR products in Walmart.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of our retailers, so I'm
Yeah,
glad
I
I'm
think we're
glad
getting more
they're
stuff in stock. I mean, we've been having some shortages because of COVID, but it looks like if you're seeing more out in the wild, that's good.
definitely
Yep. But
definitely good to hear.
if you ever have problems trying to find one of our products that you know is released and you can't find it at any other retailers, you should go to our netgear.com store, and that'll be the first place that any new products come into, and also we get the first pick of the stock before it goes out to the other retailers.
Yeah, exactly. And we're always really trying to create good deals for our customers. Sometimes we have exclusive deals. Now we've even got pretty consistent 2-day shipping, which is great. So definitely check out the NETGEAR store if you're thinking about getting a NETGEAR product. It's a great way to shop.
Yep.
All right, we have a bit of a troubleshooting question here from Tammy. Um, Tammy says, after 3 weeks, my 5 gigahertz stopped working and I had to get a new Wi-Fi router. Tammy, was it a NETGEAR router where this occurred, or is the new router a NETGEAR router? Let us know. We're happy to help you out there. What might have occurred is you might have clicked a setting that merged the two bands into one SSID. I think it's called Smart Connect on our routers.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, it's called Smart Connect. Though Tammy may not have purchased a new router yet. She said hers has stopped working. She has to get a new Wi-Fi
I
router.
have to
So
get
Tammy may be
okay.
asking, for recommendations on routers. So any additional info, Tammy, that you can give us, we'd be happy to jump in with any ideas we have.
Totally. Something that's really important these days, given the, new, um, we're seeing a shift in the market towards mesh. So let us know the size of your house. That can help us kind of give a suggestion. Tammy says it was a NETGEAR router. Tammy, you might have activated Smart Connect, which basically takes the two network names. Typically, you'll have like NETGEAR 2.4 and NETGEAR 5, kind of displayed separately when you're searching for Wi-Fi. Smart Connect will merge those and then automatically connect your device to the more optimal one. That may be what happened. I think it's pretty rare to see one band just suddenly stop working. I don't know. Is that a common thing that occurs, Michael or Darren?
I wouldn't say it's common. I have seen people have issues like that on one band or another if a router is going bad. Most of the time, though, it's usually both bands will go out. Normally, we'll do some troubleshooting with it first to make sure that it actually is that the 5 gigahertz has died, which is obviously powering it off and on is the first thing. The next thing is doing a factory reset on it. Also doing a manual install of the latest firmware if it already has the latest firmware, because maybe something got corrupted in the firmware. So there's a few things to check before you decide that the 5 gigahertz is definitely dead and you need a replacement. But it also depends on how long you've had the router.
Yeah, also in the advanced wireless settings, check to make sure that the 5 gigahertz isn't hidden from it's being broadcasted.
Yep. Yeah, make sure it's actually turned on and being broadcast.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, normally if you haven't gone into the factories or into the admin screens, then you haven't manually accidentally clicked on something, but it is worth checking.
Right. Cool. And it looks like we were able to get info on how big her house is. So, if you aren't able to fix this problem and you do want to end up getting a new system, 2,500 square feet. Now, there's lots to consider at that size. That's kind of almost like a transitionary size between like routers and mesh. If your router is going to be in the middle of your house, and this is something you really oftentimes can't control, you only have one coax connection oftentimes in a house. That's the situation that I'm currently in.
And
if
it's
it's in the
usually in
middle,
the worst place in the house. The coax connections, they always seem to want to put at the worst location, the farthest corner of a house, no matter how big it is, instead of putting it somewhere in the middle of the house, or at least somewhere a little closer to the middle.
Yeah, it's really annoying. But if it is not in a good spot, such as, the far corner of the depths of your basement, you probably would want to get a mesh system. I would suggest you really don't need to go over one satellite, I don't think, unless you've got like concrete metal walls.
Yeah.
So I would say if your coax is in the middle of your house, I'd say get the RAX router that fits your budget. That should cover your whole house. If your coax connections in the corner, I'd say get an RBK 752 or 852. There's a great deal on this at RBK 752 right now. It's $100 off. It's a great system.
Yeah, and those are our mesh systems, our Orbi mesh systems, which allow you to extend your Wi-Fi to get whole home coverage by adding additional satellites. And you can add 1, 2, 3, even 4 satellites into the network, depending on how large your house is and how poor reception you're getting in certain places. 2,500 square feet for almost any router. If the router is ending up in a far corner, it's going to be a little hard for it to cover that, especially at the farthest reaches, which is why a mesh system might be a little better.
Yeah, and if you've got like a patio or a backyard, having a mesh system where you have the satellite kind of near the exit, I mean, it'll make it outside, and you could even, span further than just inside, which is great.
Yeah, I actually have done that at my home, where even though I'm using a Nighthawk router as my main router, I also have an Orbi system here, and I have 2 satellites, one on the inside wall on one side of the house, and one on the inside wall right to our backyard, just so that I can maximize my Wi-Fi outside. And it's working great. And I get full speeds in my yard going
on. The winner of our XR1000 from a while back says he has a iPad 2021 and it works great with the XR1000. Just need that iOS 15 progress bar to let me know when things are going to be done. I'm not familiar with that feature. That sounds cool though. I have the 2020 model and I love it as well. It's great for watching TV, like when you're just like sitting in bed holding the iPad. I kind of want to get one of those like arms that like clips to the top of your bed and like comes in front of you. But then I feel like I'll be like the people from Wall-E,
What you do is what I saw at CES a few years back, and this is obviously for the people that have a lot of money. They actually had a TV built into a stand at the base of the bed, and you'd hit one button, and then the TV would just rise up out of the floor all the way up to watch. And then you just hit a button, it goes right back down.
That's pretty cool.
For those people that have way too much money on their hands.
You could do the opposite. You can go from the ceiling down.
I like that. But then it has to kind of flip down this way, so it's nice and flush with the ceiling and then pop down.
Not if you do projector.
That's
Projectors
true.
are really cool. I was thinking about throwing one up, but
yeah, and they've got a lot of really good short throw projectors where you can get a 70-inch screen, and it only has to be like 1 foot away.
Yeah, and they're like 4K too, but they also cost like $4,000.
They're getting better. There's some cheaper models that still do a really good job.
All right, here we got another question from sorry if I mispronounced your name, Refit. They ask, why does my R7000 router reboot randomly? There's a variety of reasons this could be occurring. One is that it's overheating. That's typically our go-to answer. So make sure that it's in a well-aerated space. Don't put it in a cabinet and close the door. They are passively cooled, and if they don't have good airflow, they will overheat and they will restart as a fail-safe. What else could it be though, aside from that?
Could be a bad power connector or a bad power outlet causing it to reboot, flickering the power. Another thing to do is try a factory reset and make sure it's on the latest firmware, make sure firmware didn't get corrupted. And sometimes when your ISP modem kicks off and disconnects, sometimes it'll cause a router to try to reboot and try to cycle back and get connection again. So make sure that your ISP isn't dropping at the same time as your router. And yeah, anything else, Michael?
Hey, you said it all. My work here is done. I'm out of here. No, great job. Yeah, that pretty much covered all the things that I could think of. Other than, of course, the router itself going bad.
Well, yeah.
You know, obviously, any piece of hardware can go bad, especially depending on the age. The R7000s definitely were solid workhorses. I still have one that I ran for probably 5 years that's in the closet as sort of a backup now, if I need a router. But hardware can go bad. And once you've eliminated all the other possibilities, then it comes down to the router itself is slowly dying, and you probably need to replace it.
All right. Next question here from That Gamer. How come the XR500 Duma OS3 beta does not have an ad blocker? When will it be added? This is something that Ben would typically answer, but I'll answer to the best that I can. It is a beta, so it does not have all the features that the full release is going to have. I know that's one of the most sought after features. I want that one as well. I have an XR500, so I'm right there with you. But it is supposed to be in the final release, which is still being worked on. So hang tight. I know they're working hard on it. So that's the best.
If you've ever used the ad blocker, it works great. I mean, you really notice a difference when you get a lot of those ads being stopped at the router instead of your PC having to take care of them.
Most definitely. Okay. Let's see here. I think we're caught up on questions.
Yeah, and Razer 2048 is right about those projectors, saying sadly many projectors still have a short lamp lifespan, less than 3,000 hours, while costing 150 to 200 to replace. That's where they get you, is with the bulbs and the projectors. They figure, yeah, they can sell you a projector at a reasonable price, but they know that they're going to make a lot of money off of those bulbs as you replace them.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost worth buying like a 70+ inch OLED rather than spending the money on a projector at this point, because so you might be losing 30 inches of screen compared to a projector, but OLEDs are just so nice. They're so clean.
And the projectors are never going to have the visual quality that the OLED screens have. They look great. Some of the ones that I've seen, I mean, they're really sharp theater quality, but an OLED screen is much sharper than theater quality is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Question we missed earlier is from Hamad. Hamad says, I have a Wi-Fi connectivity issue. I have an HP laptop that is being disconnected randomly. It happened twice yesterday. Any advice? Um, I, I would ultimately make the same suggestions that we made to, oh, who was it? The person that said that they're,
Rafat with the
oh,
R7000.
yeah, with the R7000, I would make the same tips there. I would say first, make sure it's in a good spot, not overheating. Secondly, update the firmware. Definitely those two things I think are kind of number one and number two. Um, yeah, so try that out.
Um, Also, if it's just the HP laptop, you might want to look into updating the wireless drivers for HP itself and not think about the router. It could be just the network card on the HP.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I was going to suggest is make sure that it actually is the that all of your devices are having problems with the Wi-Fi randomly disconnecting. It's not just the laptop, because if it is just the laptop, then Darren's right. First thing you do is update the Wi-Fi drivers on the laptop. You can even go in, uninstall the drivers, then reinstall them. And as a last ditch effort, if you love the HP laptop and it's the only thing that's having problems, you can get an external Wi-Fi adapter that you can put in there and use that instead of the internal Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Definitely a good point. Definitely need to isolate the problem. So, good advice there.
Yeah, sometimes with these new laptops, you can even replace the actual internal Wi-Fi thing pretty easily nowadays. It's just to plug in under a screw-on thing underneath the laptop and plug a new one in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some of these laptops, they're easy to work on, and then you got some where
Yeah,
it's
some
sealed
that
up.
are.
All right. Um, got a comment here from Dan, says, I have the RX50. Can I load NordVPN directly onto the RX50? I'm nervous to play in those settings. I don't believe you can integrate a VPN on our Nighthawk line. I know that you can use the hybrid VPN feature on the Nighthawk Pro gaming line. So
Yeah, on most of the Nighthawk line, we support OpenVPN, but that's it. You can't load in other VPN servers.
mhm. Husky Gamer says this YouTuber has the NETGEAR router and it is wireless. It's the NETGEAR RC 6500. Yeah, that's one of our wireless routers. It's one of our workhorses as we call them.
Yep.
It's been around for ages and people still buy it and it still works great. I was actually using one here before um, I got my XR500 back. My old roommates stayed at my old house while I moved here, and so I couldn't take my router from them because then they couldn't work. So I quickly borrowed one of those, and it served me well. All right. Rahul says, Alec, you look like Jon Snow. I had to look this up. And I'll take that
You
as a
don't know who
compliment.
Jon Snow
You,
is?
you haven't watched Game of
I have
Thrones?
not
Oh my
watched Game of
God.
Thrones.
Ugh.
I knew it was from Game of Thrones, but I didn't know what he looked like. So, but he looks pretty cool. So, I appreciate that. Uh, first, it showed me like a what looked like a colonial governor, and I was like, oh.
Nope, that's not the right one.
And I
But you're
was
going to
like,
have to wear a lot of heavy furs now that you're on camera to look like him. You're
yeah,
always got to
yeah,
be covered in furs.
yeah. Maybe I'll get a cooler looking chair. All right. Let's see here. Tammy said that she got the AC 1750 as a backup and has no problem with the 5 gigahertz.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that should serve you well. But
Well, that
definitely,
definitely lets her know the 5 gigahertz problem she was having on her other router isn't her client base problem, that it actually is the router that's having the problem. And
yeah.
so then going through the troubleshooting steps that we said before about, factory reset, try reloading the firmware, that sort of thing, might bring the 5 gigahertz back online. And also, as Darren said, go into the admin screens and make sure that the 5 gigahertz hasn't accidentally been turned off, or it's broadcasting it hasn't accidentally been turned off. Because that would seem really silly if that accidentally got turned off and really there wasn't any problem. It was just a setting that was changed.
Right, right. Okay, so next question here. We got two coming in back to back. Husky Gamer asks, how do you pay the NETGEAR wireless routers for internet? So you don't pay us for internet. You're only paying us for the hardware itself. And the bonus of that is that you own the hardware versus getting it from your internet service provider. You pay a rental. Um, but the people you pay is going to be that internet service provider. So you know you got Cox in. I mean, there's a ton nationwide. You got like Cox, AT&T, Google Fiber now. You've got Xfinity. Um, yeah, tons of options, and it's regional. So you know, look up ISPs in my area, and that's who you pay. Ryan says, my XR500 let me adjust each device's power. Does the XR1000 allow me to do that? Yes, it does. The XR1000 is going to be running the same Duma OS as the XR500. Maybe not the same exact like firmware version, but ultimately the same software. And it has that feature. And you're not really adjusting your device's power per se, it's the bandwidth. Not a huge.
Yep.
I think we're kind of talking about the same thing, but just to clarify.
Yeah, because the power automatically adjusts in our high-end routers already, where it only uses as much power as it needs to talk to a particular client. That helps save some of the power in the device. But you're right, it's basically the band that you're talking about.
Yeah. I wish they made some passively cooled 6 to 8 port 10 gigabit Ethernet switches.
Don't we all? And
That'd
ones that
probably
are
get really
cheap too.
hot.
Unfortunately, anything over 1 to 2 10 gig ports in a switch automatically bumps you up to a business line of products. And that means price goes up and they get very warm. So you definitely need fans. They could probably passively cool it, but the passive cooling plates they need in those things would have to be, you know, probably half an inch thick to be able to distribute enough of the heat. But I would love to see that because I hate those fans in the switches.
Would be really cool. There's a lot of like very interesting passive cooling computer cases that I think they look like sculptures. They're quite interesting. Maybe we make a switch like that. Could be kind of cool.
Oh, and going back to Tammy said, I have to extend to one side of my house. If you want to actually extend with the router that you currently have, what you can look at is the Nighthawk mesh extenders. Those are designed to work with any router, and they hook into the Wi-Fi that your current router has to be able to extend it, so it uses the same SSID and password to connect in. And that's one way to easily extend your network with your current system, just by adding one of the Nighthawk mesh extenders.
Good advice. Definitely good advice. Something to consider. Rahul asks, is the RX70 compatible with ExpressVPN? Yes, it is. You know, those VPNs are pretty much compatible with any router. It's a VPN that's ran off of your computer, not necessarily your router. You know, you can do the hybrid VPN settings in the Duma OS routers, the Nighthawk Pro Gaming routers, where it is ran off of your router. But the Nighthawk line doesn't allow you to do that, just the base Nighthawk line. So the RX, you can't do that. You have to run it off your computer. Hamad asks, is this method available in the UK? Which method are you talking about? Can you clarify?
Yeah, I was looking up to see some of the other comments. Yeah, if you could clarify that, because I'm not sure what Hamad's asking about.
Husky says, so NETGEAR is like free Wi-Fi for the wireless router. No, it is not like free Wi-Fi. It's strictly the routers, only the routers. You have to, like, if you have a car, you have to pay for gas. If you have a router, you have to pay for internet service. So we provide the car, and you have to buy the gas.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah. So hopefully that clarifies. You can also get the gas from the maker or the ISP, but they're going to charge you more per gallon.
Also, keep in mind that there's two different devices when you're connecting out to the internet. You have your router, and then you also have your modem. You can buy one's combo that's a modem router called a gateway. We sell those as well. But you have to have something that has a modem in it that connects up to your ISP. And then you're going to get a service plan with your internet service provider, and that's how you're going to get access to the internet. If you just have a wireless router, you could have all your devices in your house connecting to the wireless router. They'd be able to talk to each other, but you wouldn't have internet access because there's nothing connecting you out to the real world.
Yep. Exactly right. Hamad asks, available routers from NETGEAR by ISP. I don't know if we manufacture any ISP provided hardware in the UK. I would not advise, this might sound kind of biased because obviously we are NETGEAR, but I would never advise renting equipment from your ISP, even if it is NETGEAR equipment. I would advise purchasing it and owning it yourself, not paying a monthly payment. It's ultimately going to be an investment that pays for itself. So, if you're getting a router from your ISP, maybe you pay $10 a month. If you buy a $200 router from NETGEAR, you're paying more up front, but you never have to pay monthly for it. And it'll pay for itself in 20 months at that kind of price structure.
Yeah,
But oftentimes those routers cost more from the ISP.
I don't think I've seen a NETGEAR ISP router since like wireless N. Like I believe we had a bunch of wireless N. We did contracts with some ISPs and they gave those out. I don't know if I've seen anything newer than that.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't seen any from the ISPs that were actually shipping out their branded modem, but it was actually a NETGEAR modem.
I feel like it's mostly Eris I've seen a lot of.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of that.
Eris ones. One thing you should do, though, is if you're looking to buy a modem or a modem router combo with an ISP, is go out to your particular ISP's website and just look for compatible modems. And almost all the ISPs have a page that tell you what modems they've actually certified on their system. And you want to make sure anything you get, they've actually certified. Otherwise, even if our modem is great, their system will block it because it's not one of the things that they've certified.
Yeah, and that's becoming more common, unfortunately. So something to work around a little bit. I was very happy when I moved here. I was able to use my modem again because I'd been using an AT&T modem in my old house because it was fiber.
Yep.
So something I'm very thankful for.
And that's one thing we should mention is that since you mentioned fiber, is no, we don't have any fiber modems. In fact, no manufacturer sells direct to customers the fiber modems right now. They're all given to you by your ISP, which means, of course, they're going to be charging you a monthly fee for it. And they sort of have a lock on the fiber market. And until that opens up, they're the only ones that are going to be giving you your fiber modem.
That's right. Husky says, I see the NETGEAR modems. I have a
Viasat modem.
Modem. I've never heard of that. I would suggest NETGEAR, obviously.
Well, that sounds like a satellite internet.
Viasat was a satellite company.
Yeah, I don't think you can use one.
Yeah, but the best thing is go out to their site, look for compatible devices to see whether or not there are any NETGEAR ones that are compatible. It really depends on how they're offering you the connection through their satellite. Usually they have their own proprietary boxes that they're going through.
Cool.
And speaking of satellite, a friend of mine just got his Starlink and is hooked up with that. And it's got its good and its bad, but at least he's actually getting some internet now where he's at.
And where is that?
So what's the speed?
Well, surprisingly, he's actually in Livermore, which you would think you could get any sort of ISP connection, but he's like 15 minutes outside downtown Livermore, and there's no ISPs that run lines out to where he lives. And he tried HughesNet for satellite connection. It was horrible. Speeds were very bad. So he finally got his Starlink and hooked it in, and he's getting speeds of about 50 to 150 down, depending on the particular time that he's testing it, which is a heck of a lot better than what he was getting before. The biggest limitations that people are having, or at least he saw, and I read a couple of articles that gave great information on it, is that there is a fair amount of lag, where some people are saying 50 milliseconds is what they're getting, but normally you're getting 100 to 150 milliseconds, which is, a huge lag, especially if you're trying to do any gaming, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And at least at this point, there's fairly frequent disconnects, and then it has to go and reconnect again. So if you're on a Zoom call, you can be kicked off the Zoom call. And he said it can take him 3 to 4 minutes before you can get back into the Zoom call. So there's still a lot more work on that technology, but at least he's got a connection that gives him decent download speeds, which he never had before. And he is working from home, so it made it really hard for him to work off of his phone.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool to see it finally happening.
Yep.
I remember those HughesNet commercials from when I was a kid. I didn't even know that was still a thing.
Yeah, it still is, because there's not a lot of satellite or companies that offer satellite internet, and they're one of the bigger ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're probably not too pleased with Starlink.
Yes. Yeah, Starlink would put them out of business if it continues growing as it is.
Is Starlink compatible with other hardware, or do you have to use Starlink provided
You have
hardware?
to use their hardware.
Gotcha.
Yep, you have to use their hardware. Yep. Also, there's one thing that they don't really mention, but it's an absolute requirement, is for the satellite dish you have, it needs 110 degrees of clear view to their satellite, because it actually tracks the satellites across the sky. And so if you don't have 110 degrees, anytime it hits an obstruction, either your speed goes down or it drops out completely. So you can't just put it on the ground, and if it's passing by your house, well, as soon as it hits your house, if it can't see that satellite, you lose your connection.
Sounds like wireless AD to me.
Yeah, very, very close. Like where I live in the Santa Cruz Mountains, I'd have zero chance of using something like that, because I have huge redwood trees and mountains, which would mean it would be constantly losing sight of the satellites. So it's good for some people. You need to get it but very limited.
Way up high on a flagpole to make that work.
Or live in Kansas where there's nothing around you.
Right.
I was thinking Kansas or any of the places where it's really flat and you have clear sky forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, here I'd have to actually climb up a redwood tree and put it on top.
Oh, that could work.
You were saying put it on a pole, climb up a 150-foot redwood tree, put it on top there, and run a really long cable down.
Yeah, that could work. I was just thinking, if trees are a problem, this could be a little bit of a deforestation issue. People might be cutting down trees for their Starlink. All right. Rahul says unable to access the parental controls on the R6220. So they're not integrated out of the box. That's an additional service. So it's
not with this. This old router uses the old Open DNS parental controls, and we don't really support that very well. So you'd have to go to Open DNS and set up your account at their website, and then they'll give you a DNS server that you would plug into your router, and then you'd be able to use parental controls. But we used to use it through our old NETGEAR Genie app, but it doesn't work very well anymore since we moved on to the Nighthawk app.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Good to know. So hopefully that answers your question. Husky Gamer says he can replace his modem with a NETGEAR modem. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Definitely worth considering. There's a lot of great modems that we sell.
Yep. And Razor 2048 was right that those rental fees can add up to a lot of money over time. I was being lazy even working for NETGEAR when I first moved into my place, and I had the modem from the ISP and figured, I'll get to it one day. 2 years go by, and then I realized I'd spent $240 for a modem that cost about $69. So getting your own modem definitely is worth it in the long run.
All right, we got a pretty good question here from M sorry if I mispronounced your name, M. Lapin. Apologies for
Mhm.
that. Um, they ask, in December, I purchased a R7000P, but couldn't get any of my Mac devices to see the 5 gigahertz network. NETGEAR tech support couldn't fix it and sent a replacement. I installed the replacement router. I'm still having the same issue. Where do I look to see if the 5 gigahertz band is hidden? Any suggestions? So, I think the easiest potential solution, you might have to dig a little deeper than this, is to get the Nighthawk app and connect to your device. It's pretty intuitive how to connect to your device via the Nighthawk app, and then see if you have Smart Connect enabled. Smart Connect typically, well, it always is going to basically merge your two connections into one SSID, which is basically just the name that you see on your list of Wi-Fi connections. And then it's going to algorithmically connect to the best one, 2.4 or 5. So it might be enabled, but just kind of merged into one. If you disable Smart Connect, you'll be able to see both and manually connect to each one. Um, I do believe in the actual desktop um, portal, you can turn off 5 gigahertz. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So make sure it's
Yep.
not turned off. You might have to do some digging on there. It's a little more
Yep.
complex.
Also with the Nighthawk app, that should let you know whether or not the Nighthawk app is seeing the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz running. And so that's another way to double check. But the best thing to do is, on the desktop, log into your router in the admin screens, go over to the wireless settings, and you can go in there and see whether or not the 5 gigahertz is actually turned on. It'll say what is it? I think 5 gigahertz broadcast, and there'll basically be an on-off button there that you can check, and that'll at least let you know whether or not it's turned on.
Michael, does Smart Connect come enabled by default when you set up a router, or does it ask you that during the setup?
Smart Connect is on by default in our current routers. In the old R7000P, I would assume it is, but it's old enough that may have been when we were first starting to, use that, and it may have left it separated. But normally, yes, it's turned on by default. But he says that he's not using Smart Connect, and the app is seeing 5G. So for some reason, his Macs or his Apple products aren't connecting to it. One question I would have is, do you have any non-Apple products that are connecting to it, to at least make sure that anything can connect to your 5G? And if they can, then would have to look at what particular Mac devices you have. Normally, our products, are ubiquitous. They work with any device because the protocols for Wi-Fi are exactly the same. But if a non-Mac device can connect in, then it would narrow down to just Apple devices that are the problem.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a client problem. It sounds like it's an issue with the Mac. If it's a really old Mac, which doesn't sound like it is, might not have 5 gigahertz compatibility, but that would have to be a very old Mac. So
I have seen this on Apple phones, not old, but I'd say 4 or 5 years or older, where sometimes they wouldn't see the 5 gigahertz bands on our routers. And why? I don't know, but I have definitely seen that on some older Apple phones.
right, I would say update the Mac. Make sure it's got all the newest
You
software on it.
you could also try to rename the 5 gigahertz to see if it's some weird SSID issue, or make it an open network without a password to test to see if it can find it there as well.
Yeah, and also definitely look at the SSID and password that you have on your 5 gigahertz and see whether there is special characters in it. There are some special characters that some devices just don't like. So alphanumeric is probably the best thing, at least testing, and leave out any special characters just to make sure that that isn't stopping it from actually seeing the SSID, because there's a special character in there and it's just throwing it out and saying, we can't read this.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's probably something really small like that that's just messing it up. Um, but yeah, give that a shot. Also, you could enable Smart Connect, and it'll probably automatically connect to the 5 GHz band if it is 5 GHz enabled. Um, but I don't really know how you would verify that it is connected to the 5 GHz band.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't because it'll connect it to it, but then there's no way that you can see from the device what you're actually connected to,
Hmm.
other than how fast your
Exactly.
speed is.
Yeah, that's all decided by the router. So could be something to consider. I mean, you could do a speed test from the exact same location, keep the Mac in one location, connect to the 2.4, do a speed test, turn on Smart Connect, do a speed test, and if you see the speed change, it probably switched bands. Um, that could be something worth trying. And then maybe you just leave Smart Connect on. It's pretty solid. I use Smart Connect personally because I don't really want to be connecting everything manually. I don't have that many IoT devices. Um, so yeah, maybe give that a shot. That could work too.
Yeah, and Razer actually brought up a good point about the DFS channels, and that it is possible that the Mac or the router is set to one of the higher DFS channels, and the client device doesn't support that channel, and so it can't connect to it. So I would recommend going in, setting your 5 GHz channel to one of the lower channels, and then see if your Mac sees it, because it is possible that it's just at a higher channel band than what the device is going to be able to handle.
Got it. That's some good advice. And thank you, Razor, for that tip. We love having some enthusiasts in the chat to help us out. Maybe we bring Razor on the show one day.
Yeah, normally if you've got it set to auto, then you don't have that problem. But if you go in and you manually set it to one of the higher channels, then yeah, that possibly could happen. So it's a
Hmm.
good idea to try a lower channel just to make sure that it isn't using a band that your Mac just can't handle.
There you go. Cool. Comment here from Jake says, I used Netgear Everything for my pay-per-view 2 weeks ago. Thanks for the help. Went smoother than expected. I assume that's what you mean by
Excellent.
by PPV. Um, yeah, very good. I've been using it a lot for watching sports too. Watching my Suns dominate the Nuggets. I've been enjoying that. Oh, if there's any Suns fans in the chat, shout out to you guys. Um, we have a MacBook, iPhone X, and newer. The channel
Yeah,
is set on 153. I would
153.
say do auto. Give that a shot.
Yep. Yeah, and the iPhone X definitely should be able to
Hmm.
handle channel 153. The MacBook, depending on how old it is. But yeah, set it on auto, reboot the router, and then see if you can connect in. And of
Hmm.
course, we are all assuming that you have other non Apple devices that do connect on the 5 GHz, and not that there is just some weird problem with 5 GHz on that router.
Hmm. Yeah, I had an iPhone X and I had no issue connecting to 5 GHz on my XR 500, which is based off of the R7000, I believe.
Yes, yes, it is.
So you shouldn't have any problems. So I would definitely suggest that was a great suggestion from Razer. That might solve the problem. So give that a shot. Um, yeah, and then maybe try everything else that we suggested and see if that helps out. Cool. Well, I think we're caught up. Um, did we miss anything? Doesn't look like it.
Yep,
If
looks good.
um if M still has the old one, maybe it was just the DNS channel or DFS channel, and now you got two great routers. Um, maybe you could set one up as an access point and do a little tinkering with the network. That'd be kind of fun. All right. Jake Ryder says, I am a stand-up comedian in Vegas. Well, that's pretty cool. Where do you typically perform? I've actually never been to Vegas, so I'm
You've
jealous.
never been to Vegas?
Never been to Vegas. I gotta go to
You
Vegas.
gotta, well, I don't know if you gotta go to Vegas right now with COVID still, lurking out there, but you definitely gotta go to Vegas.
I do want to go to Vegas. I want to go to CES really bad.
Yep, we aren't gonna be doing a live CES this year. Um, we've already gotten the decision handed down on that, but the following year we should be.
Wouldn't CES be next year because it's in January?
Well, yeah, but it's so close, so close. I
Mhm.
literally every year come back from our Christmas closure, get on a plane and fly to CES. So it'll be nice not to have to fly there this year.
Will it be
Mhm.
smaller because of all this, do you think?
I'm guessing it's going to be because I don't think that there's enough companies that are willing to go out there so soon after hopefully enough of COVID is over with. Plus, they had to have signed up and finalized the deals before now.
Hmm.
And so we'll see. I'm guessing this year is probably going to be a little bit quieter, which is too bad because the CES board was expanding the footprint of CES in Vegas. They were opening up a huge new section to it, and they were going to slowly renovate the older sections. And that was right before COVID hit. So they haven't been able to use the new buildings that they've built. And so we'll see what happens. But this year, I don't expect there's going to be that many.
I don't know that many gaming conventions are going to come back. I think they're just going to kind of stay online only in the future. It seems like E3, BlizzCon, maybe PAX comes back, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think many of they're going to keep doing those.
Yeah. Well, I know BlizzCon's going to come back
Uh,
because their virtual convention that they had earlier this year, I don't want to say was a flop, but it wasn't great.
well, they already planned another one for next year and canceled this year's BlizzCon. So
Yep. Well, I figured this one they would because they already had one this year. It
Mhm.
was earlier this year, but they already had one. But yeah, next year definitely they should have one. And I'm hoping my friend still has the friend that works at Blizzard that gets us tickets. It's the only way I can get tickets there.
That'd be pretty
well,
nice.
we just got to hit up Ben. He can get
Right?
us
That's
tickets.
true.
Yeah, have Ben get us
That's
some
true.
tickets. Yeah, some esports events are coming back. Like I watch Smash, so there's finally a real in-person Smash tournament. Um, so that's coming back.
They're really
Did they
trying to
have
get
an
away from.
audience?
They're really trying to get away from GameCube Smash.
I know
Like
they
they're really
are,
trying
which
to get
is
to Ultimate. Yeah.
that's a can of worms. Let's not open that
There
one. M says we have Acer laptops and a Sony Android that don't see the 5 gigahertz either.
oh,
Ah, well,
I would,
that's actually good answer because it means that the 5 gigahertz is having problems and it's not the devices.
mhm. Yeah, I would try what we suggested, and then we're coming down to the end of the show here, so you might not be able to do it, today, but I would suggest giving everything you suggested a shot, and then maybe coming back next week and letting us know if it worked for you, because I do think that we gave some pretty solid options that could definitely fix the issue. So, um, you know, there's really not much else to say. I can't think of any other suggestions personally. Um, Jake Ryder says he tours internationally. That's pretty cool. Tours coming soon,
Yeah.
every major city. Well, if you're in San Francisco, maybe I'll come to your show. I love stand-up comedy. That's pretty cool. I'll check out your channel after. All right, Vanessa
So
Kitty's
we have a
heading
few more
out.
minutes. Any more tech stuff to talk about?
Any more tech stuff to talk about? I'm trying to think if I've done anything, had any cool tech moments as of late. Not really. What about
Yeah,
you
mine
guys?
was setting up the Orbi Wi-Fi 6 system in a
Mm,
house that had Orbi Wi-Fi 5.
nice.
And surprisingly, even though the Wi-Fi 6 is using the same bands as the Wi-Fi 5, basically 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands, we got 40 to 70, 80% faster speeds in the various locations that we tested around the house. And it was a system that there was one Orbi router and 4 Orbi satellites. And one of them was out in the guest house. And we were getting, phenomenal speed differences just swapping them out for the exact same locations that the other ones were in. The only one that I couldn't quite figure out is on the Orbi Wi-Fi 5 in the garage, it got faster speeds than when I was in the same room with the router. And my only guess was because right next to me was a Tesla, and I think it didn't want to get shown up by the Tesla, so it had to show off that it could do faster speeds than that. But otherwise, I don't know.
I got a tech question. Maybe Michael can help me out here. So I moved into my new place, and the outlets all have Cat 5e in them that were wired for telephone jacks. I rewired them for Ethernet, and all the wires go out to my garage where I had to crimp them with heads, and then I have a 8-port NETGEAR switch, but I'm only getting 100 meg connection, even though 5e can support a gig. I'm wondering what I could be missing here.
Well, of course, I'm assuming the switch that you have is gigabit.
Yeah.
Switch. Okay. And what client are you plugging into it, or is it multiple clients you're plugging in and you're only getting 100 off of it?
So I'm plugging a XR500 into the wall, one of the wall outlets.
And on the client side, or is it on the XR500, you're also seeing that that's only doing 100 meg handshake?
I'm only seeing 100 meg on the router and out on the switch lights as well.
And let's see. Well, I'm not sure. I wonder why they use 5e connections for phone connections, but that shouldn't affect it if you went and cut the ends off and then put your own on there.
Yeah.
As long as all of your wiring matches up, then there shouldn't be a problem. What I would probably test first is take your XR 500 in to where your switch is at, plug directly into it, and see whether or not you get the gigabit lights on instead of the 100 megabit. And if so, then there might be something weird going on with that wiring in the walls. Normally, I'd say there shouldn't be a problem, but that would be the most likely place if plugging directly in, you're getting gigabit.
Yeah, I find it disappointing they use Cat 5e instead of Cat 6.
Depends on how old the house is when they put it in.
2 years.
Only 2 years. Yeah, they should have put Cat 6 in there because you're never going to tear up those walls and put new cabling in.
Yeah.
And you can't thread it through with a new set of cabling because normally they'll staple cables onto the 2x4s in the walls or lock them in place in some way. And so there's no way to actually pull it through. But yeah, the first thing I would do is plug your router directly into the switch, make sure that you're actually getting that out of the switch. And is this a managed or unmanaged switch?
Unmanaged.
Oh yeah, then definitely that would be the first thing to check. And another thing would be, obviously they've got this wired into multiple rooms in the house, not just one room.
Yeah, 6 outlets.
Okay. And are all 6 outlets, when they're plugged into your switch, ending up being 100?
I only redid 4 of them because 2 of them I won't even use. So I guess got to test every one of them. But yeah, I was only getting 100 out of the one.
Yeah. And the one other thing is if you have the testers, the cable testers, plug that in and make sure that all of the 8 leads are matched up properly.
Would I still get a 100 meg connection if it wasn't?
I would assume no, but it's always best to make sure the wiring. And the one thing you have to hope is that those wires aren't going by some other heavy electrical wiring in the wall that's affecting their signal.
That might be the issue.
Yeah.
You mentioned that because
that would have made it very poor installation though, because anyone installing that stuff should know better. But yeah, if they bundled it up right next to like your power lines going through the walls, then yeah, that'll definitely affect the signals.
The other issue is in the outlets in the house, they basically strip the wire clear back into the outlets. And all it is all the little wires.
Oh,
Yeah. And I can't really fix that.
Well, you get those tiny little wire wraps on them, heat sink down to fix them. And then you just have
Yeah.
the tiny wires coming out of it.
Yeah. So I had to buy the outlets that you put one wire at a time and you crimp down, and you put another
Yep.
wire and you crimp down.
Yeah, I actually have that in my house because I wired it all up myself. And yeah, I've got those into one of the RJ45s that have just the the prong holes on the back side. So you put all 8 wires in and you crimp each one down. And so far it's been working well.
It sounds like looks like Jake mentioned having the same issue, and he had to rewire his whole house.
Yeah.
That's a pain. I would
Yeah.
not want to do that. Um, there's like a random Ethernet cable just sticking out of my wall in this new apartment, and I'm like, does this go to other Ethernet ports? I'm like, can I plug this into my router? But there's no Ethernet ports anywhere else in my house, so I'm like, why
I
is this Ethernet cable just here?
I bet your apartment complex provides internet service. If you were to plug a switch or a router into it, it goes to a network on your whole apartment that gives you like a 30 meg connection or something like that, if I had to guess.
Good to know. Maybe I can steal
Yeah.
that because I've got a data cap now because I had to switch back to Xfinity. So
Yeah, plug something in, see if you get internet.
yeah, or
It's
maybe it
probably
just
been turned off, but it's well worth it.
immediately sends me a virus. It's just like, here's a virus.
Right.
Um, Angela says, I want to buy an Anberic RG351V, and I looked this up, and it's a little
What the
handheld
heck is that?
console. Looks pretty
Oh,
cool. I mean,
let's
if it
take a
plays
look.
Pokemon, that's worth it to me.
That's all you need.
That's all I care about.
Oh, wait, this isn't the one with a crank on the side. No, it's not. Yeah, because I was talking to Angelo yesterday and he was looking at a handheld and it actually has a crank on the side.
To like
And that isn't
power
just,
it.
no, that's what I thought.
It's a controller.
Yeah, it's actually
Oh,
a controller. And one of the games, because I'm thinking, what would you use something like that for? And these are basically, like 4-bit games on
yeah.
the screen. And this one was a time traveling game. And when you crank the handle one way, you go forward in time. When you cranked it back, you go backward in time.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's like, okay, that seems cool.
But that's not the main selling of this console. I didn't understand it for a long time either. Then I heard someone explain it. This console is supposed to be a portable console, and it's like a book club. They give
Hmm.
you new games every month at the same time, so you play the same game as your friends, and then you can discuss it.
Yep. And yeah, he said that they had a library of only like 12 games, but they bumped it up to something like 24, and they'll be releasing like 2 games every month for people. So yeah, it sounds
Interesting.
like a book club.
That's kind of like communal. I like that. That's pretty
Yep.
cool. Um, okay, well, we're at the end here. I want to shout out Jake, said he'll be in SF
Hey.
and we can get free tickets. That sounds awesome. I might go to that.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in. Um, always good to have got a comedian in the chat. That's awesome. Cool. Well, that's the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and engaging with us. Lots of awesome questions. It's always a pleasure to chat with everybody. Um, any other closing words from you guys?
No, but it's good to see Angelo's in the chat,
Yeah.
even if he's not here.
Angela, hop on the Zoom call. I'm kidding.
We're
All
ready for
right.
you. We'll do
Well,
another hour.
if that's it, everybody have a safe, fun weekend. We're almost out of the thick of it with the pandemic, so
And don't forget to hit the like button. We
Yep.
forgot to say that the entire
yes,
show.
yes, hit the like button. We really appreciate it. It helps people find the video even after we're done streaming. So please hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. And if you didn't, give us some suggestions. How can we make it better? But yeah, cool. All right. Well, take care, everybody.
Right.
Have a good weekend.
See you later.
See it.